materials. Now keep in mind, there's no geometry. This is just terrain surface. Pull rocks out. I can go ahead and add maybe a little bit of touch of pine needles over here.
You said the rocks are terrain, so if you wanted a kickable rock, you have to have an object in that
Yeah,
terrain.
and that's doable, but takes a little more effort to get that to respond. Put some pine needles back over there. And you know, even though it's texture, it doesn't mean that it won't respond to the lighting in the scene. So those rocks, you know, while you're playing the game, should just feel like they're part of the ground. And of course, you know, we can always change the elevation after the fact. And then there's also rock rocks as well. So if we wanted some large rocks near the campfire. It's just composition, moving stuff around until it looks, you know, this rock doesn't look right, it's too straight edged, right? So I'm going to use one of my a little bit chunkier rocks.
How often do you ask someone else to come take a look for fresh eyes?
Several times a day. The question was how often do you ask for someone to come look at it? And I do that quite a bit just because, you know, you stare at something long enough, you're not even sure what you're looking at. And I tend to, anybody who works with me knows, I tend to hate everything that I make.
This is terrible, this is the worst thing ever.
Sometimes it takes somebody else to come in and say, no, that actually works. So in this case, oh, don't hit the Windows key. So the amount of detail that we just added from nothing, it took what, 2 minutes?
Wow.
And the player will step up onto this big rock and walk over it. And all the foliage works the same way. We wanted to add some grass to the outskirts over here. And we've got grass.
Grass.
This is actually fairly heavy geometry grass. It's actually foil. But because of the optimizations of the way Unreal handles foliage, it does pretty well. We'll probably end up doing more sprite-based grass for larger scenes. But thank goodness. And then all that stuff we just added, just dynamically. I don't know if you can see it, but the plants are waving, the grass has a slight breeze to it, the shadows are all dynamic.
Can you keep this campfire in the final game as like a fun Easter egg for us?
I actually think this one might make it through. We'll see. Yeah, I think we'll have a reason to put a campfire in the game.
Yay.
Yeah, it might be in the tree. We'll look for it in the trees.
The chat would like to know if anybody in Cyan uses ZBrush for a model.
I use ZBrush every day. Yep. ZBrush is a software package that we use to, thank you, first time ever running. So it's a software package we use to do digital sculpting. And so this rock, this is one of the rocks in the scene, was created just like digital clay, and then the maps were extracted from that. So yeah, ZBrush is a common tool. Photoshop, ZBrush, 3 Studio Max, those are our main tools.
Did you make all of these assets or some of them pre-made for this engine?
Some of the stuff I modified from pre-made assets. So, for instance, I think the only thing that was actually really from a pre-existing asset was the trees. These are Speed Tree is a software package. I used it to get a base model, but rather than using Speed Tree per se, I just used the mesh and then retextured it and created my own vertex shader for the wind. So I don't know if it's visible on the monitor, but the trees actually are waving just a little bit. And then yeah, so it's got a new bark texture on it because the one that they had wasn't very realistic, and this is supposed to be sort of based on the kind of surroundings in Spokane, just because it's easy reference. So, but yeah, this is a case where we just kind of ran out of time. And the one thing I'm really unhappy with, this is where I start griping about the scene, is the trees. Just I don't like these big stumps sticking out. It's not very realistic. So one of the things on my to-do list was to rip these off and put on sort of the thinner, twiggy, dead branches that you actually do see around here. But a lot of the job is actually just, observation. It's going for a walk and looking and seeing, like all these plants are actually based on plants that grow right near my house. And the grass is, while it's sort of a stylized version, is all based on the type of grasses you get growing wild in the woods around here. While it's, it's not perfect, but it gets the mood right. That's the most important thing. So, does anybody have any questions about abduction in general? We've got a whole bunch of people here that might be able to answer questions, as long as it's not, secret gameplay questions. But feel free to holler out questions if you have them.